All right. Good afternoon, everyone. If you want to go ahead and I'm going to share out the link for my Lumio. We will be using Lumio Smart like that commercial was showing, that showcase. So if you want to go ahead and go to hellosmart.com and enter my class ID, you'll be joining me as a student today or as a guest. And I'll give you about like 2 minutes to go ahead and do that. There's also a QR code if you want to go that route. We've got about 8 participants. I think we're looking for about 10 more people to join us, and then we're ready to get started. About 1 more minute, then we're going to get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Lumio presentation. If you're needing to join later, if you'll just message in chat and I'll try my best, or Casey will try her best to get you that link. I can put it in the chat as well to join. I think Casey can get it for you. Okay, so this is annotations and game-based learning with Lumio. So we are looking at annotations, which is a great test-taking strategy that I use personally in my classroom to ensure my students are successful when they're taking their tests. And our second half of the presentation will be on game-based learning with Lumio, which is just a really great tool that I've come to use in my toolkit that helps me to be effective with using technology integrated into classroom learning. So let's get started. These are the ISTE standards. I'll give you a couple seconds to look at those. Those are ISTE standards for technology. And alignment to T-test. This fits planning dimension 1.4. The teacher plans engaging flexible lessons that encourage higher order thinking, persistence, and achievement. So this connects in that we're using that game-based learning. It's a great planning system, a great tool that we can implement into our curriculum to promote that higher order thinking through that game-based learning. They're developing that persistence because they want to achieve, because you know that our students are competitive and they want to play and they want to win. So through this Lumio game-based learning, the students are deepening their learning because they are competitive and they want to win at the game, but at the same time, they're learning the curriculum that we're implementing or integrating into it. So our objectives today, our content objective, we can effectively implement annotations in our classrooms in a way that benefits our students as well as learn more about game-based learning. Our language objective, we're going to practice writing annotations in order to set my expectations for annotations for my students. Because again, annotations are going to look different for everyone in every classroom and every grade level. That's understandable. There's not one surefire way. And our social objective, we can collaborate with our grade level or other teachers to create expectations for annotations in our grade levels. So what is annotation? You're going to walk away today thinking, what does annotations look like for you in your classroom? Because it's going to be different for every grade level teacher. So what are annotations? Annotations give your students the tools to be successful in any subject matter, because I use it in my reading. I teach science. Like it's interchangeable. You can use it in any subject and it's an effective tool. Regardless of that content area, it allows for your students to showcase their thinking and understanding. Annotations help students solidify their understanding of a topic. What I mean by that is a lot of the times our students think without actually sitting there and really deepening that thinking. They'll say, oh, the answer is A. But the whole point of annotations is for you to get the student to think, well, why is that answer A? Let me tell you why. Because if they can prove it, then there is no doubt, without a doubt, that they understand it. Or if they do think that and they can give you evidence why, but they're still wrong, you as the teacher can turn around and sit down and have that conversation with them after the fact and be like, well, I see what you were thinking, and you can correct that misconception right there. You see exactly where the misconception is. It's laid out for you to help them. So remember though, one important thing to remember though, we the teachers should explain from day one, annotations are not for our benefit, because at the end of the day, the student's not going to buy in if they think, oh, well, it's just because you want me to do that. However, if they know that it's benefiting them and they see the results of that, then they're able to buy in. You want students to know that it benefits the student, not the teacher. So how do we annotate? Remember, there is no one tried and true method to annotating, and every student learns different. The goal of this training is to help you find a system that will make your students successful. Your big question that you should be thinking is, what does annotating look like on your grade level? To demonstrate their thinking and comprehension. So again, like what's it going to look like if you're teaching first grade, if you're teaching kinder, if you're teaching third grade, fourth grade, high school, middle school? What is annotation going to look like for your students to be successful? What's going to help to deepen their comprehension? In a moment, we're going to be watching a video that shows one form of annotating in action and the potential strategies that you could have your students incorporate. It is for an upper grade level, but again, you should be thinking, how could you bring that down? How could you scaffold that down or vertically align that to the grade level that you teach currently or the subject matter that you teach? Pay close attention as we will be sharing out what we learned after the video. Should play.
Mr. Patton, if there's sound to this video, we cannot hear it.
You can't hear the video?
No, to your share screen and computer sound.
What was that one more time?
If you go to your share screen options, you should see enable computer sound.
Okay. There we go. I think I did it. Now let me start it over. Sorry about that. Apologize. You hear it now?
Perfect.
Hey guys! Ever since I mentioned it in a previous video, a ton of you wanted to know how I annotate books. I am currently enrolled in AP English Literature, and for that class, I have to read a ton of books, and we've already gone through 3 separate novels, so I've kind of had time to fine-tune my system and see what really works for me while I annotate. For those who don't know, annotating is just when you're reading a novel or an article or any short story or anything like that, and you're just adding in your own comments and notes in the margins of that text. It's just supposed to sort of enhance the experience as you read. If your teacher has a specific system or guidelines that they want you to follow for annotating, definitely make sure you follow those first. My English teacher doesn't really have a specific system that we should follow. She just wants us to annotate, period. Annotating is a great way to actively read, and it really helps you avoid passively staring at a novel as you read past each page, and you don't really absorb as much as you would if you did annotate, just because annotating really opens up a conversation with the text. You're able to comment, jot down all of your thoughts, ideas, keep track of themes, really anything you choose to do as you read, and it's just a better way to read, especially for a literature-heavy class. So when I first started annotating The Secret History, which was the first book I was assigned to annotate, I decided to try to use another person's system because I just really didn't know where to start at all. And I made these 2 little flip outs using scrapbook paper and washi tape just to remind myself of what I was looking for, just to get used to it. And so I decided that for the left margins, I would use those for comments, questions, arguments, and connections, and the right margins to summarize any interesting things, quotable phrases, adding like diction, syntax, figurative language, things like that. And I also wrote down any themes I wanted to keep track of as well. And for the inside cover at the front, I also decided to put in a bunch of sticky notes of like vocabulary words I wanted to look up, major plot points, when characters were introduced, and things like that. I found this system worked pretty well for me, but it was very, very detail oriented and took a lot of time to complete efficiently, and so I decided to try to simplify my system the next time I read a book. For the next book I read, which was The Kite Runner, I decided to really solidify my color coding system with my highlighters. So pink stands for literary devices or figurative language, yellow stands for plot points, green stands for character development, and blue stands for thematic ideas, motifs, and symbols. In these longer novels, I found it was really, really useful to add a little summary of the plot for each chapter, and also writing a little dialectical, just a couple sentences about certain literary devices that stuck out to me during each chapter, because I think that really helped me keep track of the development of certain themes throughout the book, and that became really, really useful for class discussions and Socratic seminars that we'd have later on. I think that annotating has really shown me how much I can get out of reading literature, because I just write down like my thoughts as I read, whether it's just like a smiley face or, just a direct reaction to something that happened in the book, or even just like commenting on a certain theme or thing that I find reoccurring throughout the novel. And I found that I just got more out of the book than I would if I didn't annotate. So I would definitely recommend trying to annotate literature, even if you aren't required to do so. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up.
So there you have it. That's one form of annotating. Again, that was for more of a high school and collegiate level, but I want the whole point of that video was to kind of open a dialogue and get you thinking like, well, what would annotating look like in my classroom? Like, what are my expectations that I want to set for my students? Because again, this is a good test taking strategy that I have learned and have used in class that has proven effective for me personally as an educator. And I did like how she mentioned like noting the major plot points, noting the themes, noting character development. Those are all things that our students as low as 3rd grade that are in a tested subject are encountering. They're encountering plot, they're encountering theme, they're encountering how characters change over time, how they develop in the story. And I think that's a good strategy to get them to buy into early on is annotating, as it helps build them into a strong, capable reader. Any questions so far before we keep moving? Anyone? Feel free to unmute. Okay, we're moving on. So in this group workspace activity, I'd like you to put 3 things you learned and 1 thing you wonder or have questions about based on that video we just watched and what I've given you so far on annotating. So it should be, let me go ahead and start the Lumio or setup. Let's do 3 teams. There's your team. And go ahead and you may begin putting things you learned. And I'll give you all about, let's say 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes on this activity. Just real quick things that you learned from that video or ideas that you had, or maybe things that you're still left wondering, like what do you not understand, or what are we lost on annotating, or what are you wanting to know more about?
How do you type your answers? Nothing will come up.
If so, let me go to where y'all are at. So if you go ahead and go to the left side of your screen, you have a little pencil tool, and it'll let you type into the box. There's also the letter A, and you can make a text box. So I see some of your people are already writing. But again, that A to the side of your screen will let you make a text box, or you can also write with like the pencil tool or the marker tool as well. Seeing good answers already, great answers from everyone. That's awesome. Thank y'all. Good questions, good wonderings. Good, about 1 more minute, then we're gonna move on. Okay, so let's look at some of these that we shared out. So annotations can look different to everyone. You are correct, because everyone, again, it's not for the benefit of the teacher, for what works best for the student. Annotations are helpful and a good way to track comprehension. Absolutely correct as well. Annotations can be different based on grade levels or students' independent level. 100% you are correct. It's different per grade level, and it's different on a student's ability level as well. Something you're left wondering, how are others utilizing annotations for online start? That's a great thing. That's a great thing to wonder. So again, at least for me personally, my personal experience as an educator, we do everything on the scratch paper provided. but we also have like that highlighting tool that's built into the Star Online now that it's transitioned to that online environment as opposed to being a pen and paper test. So there's good ways to integrate these strategies both online as well as on your paper, your scratch paper that is provided for students. That was great. Again, about how it benefits. The highlighters and sticky notes, those would be great for like if you're in that high skill level and you're doing those novel studies, like that'd be a great technique. Again, with the Post-its, that's correct. How can we get our kinder kids to annotate? Great question as well. So again, I'm going to talk about that when I show some examples of my lower level learners that I've had on my grade level personally, but they could equivocate to your kinder students that are not on that necessarily on that writing level. And the color coding, yes, you love color coding yourself. Yes, color coding is a great organizational strategy. And lastly, annotations will vary depending on the text. Absolutely. If it's fiction, if it's nonfiction, if it's a poem, if it's a drama. Can't tell you how many times I've had students come up to me when we start our poetry unit like, well, Mr. Patterson, how do I do this? And I'm like, okay, well, let's treat it like you just kind of walk them through it. And you kind of, again, the whole goal of annotations is to find the important information, extract it out. So maybe with a poem, it's not necessarily a plot or characters. Maybe it's more of like, what is the author's message? What are they trying to project to the reader? Wonder how else we could incorporate into first grade classroom or classrooms where students aren't the best writers. Again, I will touch on that when I get to, and you said, could it be done with pictures? Absolutely, you're already on the right track. I will be showing some examples in a little bit. I wonder how we can differentiate annotations to our SPED students. Again, I will be showing some examples of that in our G2 students. So that's where you'd kind of be, I see that they would think of it as a chore. So I have had those students that, again, like, Mr. Patterson, I don't need to annotate, I've got this. And again, like, you know your students, you know which ones truly don't need to annotate. Like if they're getting those hundreds, if they're acing it without annotations and it's all up there, like of course, like there's going to be those exceptions that where annotating is kind of counterproductive. But again, it's a case by case with your students. You know your students that really truly do not benefit from annotations. But for the most part, annotations will benefit a majority of the students that you'll encounter. All right, moving on. I don't know if we had a couple, Casey, do we have a couple that needed to join the Lumio still, or do we have anyone that needs to join the Lumio, or are we all good before I move on? Anyone needing to join the Lumio?
I'm sorry. Where I'm at, the internet dropped at the campus, and so I'm on my phone hosting. So if anybody wants to join the Lumio, I can put the class code in the chat. I see we only have 8 people in your session, Mr. Patterson, and I know we do have more participants. So I will put the class code back in the chat, and so
Perfect.
hopefully we can get the others back into your session.
Thank you. All right. So annotation expectations. So now in this activity, we're going to be answering like, what are your expectations of annotations going to be? Like, what are you as a classroom teacher or whatever subject you're teaching? Like, what do you want annotations to look like? Because before we give it to our students, we need to have an idea of like, what do we want from our students? And it should let you already begin the activity because the lesson is started. Yeah, it should let you all begin already. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you should already be able to answer like, what do annotations, what are your expectations as a teacher for annotating based off what we've talked about, based off what we've seen already? Like it could just be like one short little response, like, what do you want from an annotation from your students? It doesn't have to be a long explanation, but just something short and sweet. And again, at the same time, I'm also kind of showcasing this is a great tool you can use on Lumio for your students. So here's one of the few tools. We're going to talk about some of the games later, but here's one of the organizational tools that you could have to have your students be interacting with technology in a meaningful way.
Patterson, it's saying the teacher isn't running this activity right now.
It's not running it. Man, hang on 1 second, guys.
There we go.
Oh, it's letting you run it now? Is it working for y'all now?
It still says it's not running.
There we go. Ooh. Why is it not working for y'all? There you go. Now it's running.
Yep, thanks.
Perfect. And we can change those grade levels too. Well, actually that works because I mean, it was originally an elementary training. So, but again, if you're a higher grade level, if you just want to go into the 4th and 5th category and beyond, we'll use that as our higher education, like our middle school or high school as well. But if you're that kinder, pre-kinder, that 1st, that 2nd and 3rd, or 4th and 5th, feel free to comment into any of those categories. Like what, just a very short and brief answer, like what does annotation look like for you in your class, or what do you want as an expectation? Like one simple expectation for your class. Good symbols, hashtags, that'd be a very simple way. Short and sweet, but meaningful for our own individual student needs, absolutely. Basic comprehension, incorporating highlighters, drawings for our lower grades, yes, absolutely. Somebody wanted but so then, yeah, for like summarizing. That'd be great too. Give about 1 more minute. Ooh, a good one right there. Phrases, page numbers, how the information will be used. Good. Giving your evidence. I always I have to hound my 5th graders and my 4th graders, like, prove it. They're like, well, here's the answer, Mr. Patterson. I'm like, prove it. Go back and find the evidence. I tell them always, they're like detectives. They're like the police. Like you can't arrest someone without evidence. You have to have that evidence. I always tell them that. And symbols are great as well to set the student by each category. Having that symbol, like we've kind of dabbled with symbols when we had the paired passage that we've had to work with. Like for text 1, for text 2, like the symbols are very important as well. They can be very meaningful. About 1 more minute, then we'll move on to the next. We're going to look at some examples in a minute. Students to try a technique such as abbreviation, drawing, hashtags, highlighting, and text evidence, paragraph, number, line. Yeah, absolutely. Those are all great strategies, techniques that you could bring in. Abbreviating. I'll have my students do that a lot with the science star, because again, like they're encountering some vocabulary they might not know necessarily, but abbreviations can help them to get through that quickly. Drawing, again, with science, that's very helpful for me for drawing, because they'll have lots of different models that they're encountering. And if they have that model like internalized in their head, if they draw out that model, I understand what they're doing. Hashtags again could be important. Highlighting, yes, again, I have my students highlight in class, lots of practice, but then when they are encountering the star, they're doing it directly on the online version. And yep, text evidence. Sticky notes, littles they do love the sticky notes as well. Yes, very good strategy. I did used to use sticky notes a lot with my paper test, but whenever we transitioned to all online, I kind of moved away from sticky notes, but they are still a great resource. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Thank you all for your answers. I appreciate everyone participating. So now we're gonna look at some examples of expert annotators. The following annotations are just some from my reading and science, like throughout the year. So my high, above and beyond annotators. This is some like actual firsthand looks from my students. So note, looking at this first one, it's a reading. It's actually from a poem. The student forms complete ideas of their understanding. This is one of my high flyers. So this was one of my GT kids that didn't mind annotating. They actually enjoyed it because they kind of like to put their thinking out onto words. They're showing their understanding of what's going on. They are reading. It's fairly evident that they comprehend the text. They understand what they're reading. And then if you look to the right, we have a science test that was annotated. These science assessments or annotations display that the students working through their understanding using their knowledge on each question. They are great. They're both great students and they work through their questions, and the teacher, I can go back and correct their misconceptions. So I can look and see their understanding, and here they're talking about some water cycle questions. We were doing a water cycle unit, a weather and climate and water cycle unit. And again, I can go back and provide that student feedback in a timely manner because I can look and see exactly what they were thinking as they took that test, and I can help provide clarification if they had any misunderstanding. Now we're going to look at a medium student, our average students, because average students are great annotators as well. Our average students, they demonstrate a general comprehension of the text, but they lack the in-depth understanding that our higher GT students or our higher flyers demonstrate. They're still excellent. I think the annotations for them are more almost a compliance piece, but they still show that comprehension. And then our students, again, and here's a science one side by side, they still provide some explanation of their answer choice, but it's lacking that more fundamental, that more in-depth understanding that our high flyers are showing. And then again, this is at a 5th grade level. And then lastly, our low students, but I do want to work towards their strengths. And a lot of y'all were mentioning our kinder and our pre-K kids and our 1st grade even, we're talking about pictures. And absolutely, if your student's an artist or if they are good at representing and showing comprehension through writing or through drawing, I meant to say, they can be great. That can be a great thing. I had a student demonstrating the water cycle through pictures. And again, I can get the gist. I can see the arrows. They're showing the arrows. They're drawing the clouds. They're drawing the sun. They're showing me the different parts of the water cycle. And with reading, again, it can be simple words or phrases. Maybe they're copying from the text, but they're still, they are still demonstrating that they understand the correlation to the text to what their response was. They're showing that basic understanding. Maybe they're getting all their spelling and vocabulary straight from the text. Like they're not paraphrasing that deeper level of understanding, but they're still showing that they understood. So for the sake of time, I think we're going to skip this activity. I was going to give you all a chance to annotate using Wonderopolis, but I do want to get to the second portion of the training. I believe we only have 20 minutes left, so I'm going to get to the fun part, the game-based learning through Lumio. But just know this was a great resource, and we can share the presentation after the fact where you can try out annotating or see what your expectations of annotating would look like in action using Wonderopolis, which is a great resource in itself that I utilize for external additional text that I need, and they're all informational. So part 2 is game-based learning with Lumio. So this is where all the fun games come in that the kids love. Lumio's limitless possibilities. Command your class's attention because I know that sometimes kids just don't want to learn. They have checked out on you. They don't want to think. They don't want to sit there with pen and paper or even sometimes Chromebooks. And so the second portion of this training is dedicated primarily to giving you an opportunity to explore and see some of the many game-based learning models available for you to implement in your class for any subject. Why game-based learning? Because it keeps students engaged. It limits disciplinary issues. When students are engaged and they're enjoying their learning, they're not going to give you as much of a hard time. With other active students, it also helps with active students, active learners, those students that can't sit still because they're getting to be engaged, up and moving. That kinesthetic learning is taking place, and it's making kids genuinely want to learn. So we're going to go ahead and start with this first one, which is testing your knowledge of literacy with a race game. So I'm going to go ahead and start it, and we should be able to do, hang on. Got it. Oh, it's not going to let us do, hang on. Pick again. It's actually not going to let us do this race activity because this is for if we were actually here on the smartboard. I apologize about that. But what would happen is the students would be actually touching your smartboard and they'd be using it to answer questions directly on the screen. So I can just showcase that. So they get to pick their person and then they pick their character. So again, it's usually about 2 people because a smartboard won't support more than 2 people. So I'll just show like 1 or 2 questions. So they're racing around the track. They have a little boost button to make them go faster because the kids are going to want to be tapping the board, tapping away, and then they get a question. So for example, this one says, giving human characteristics to non-human things. And so they get to answer and they have their multiple choice right here. So they answer correctly, maybe they don't answer correctly. And the correct answer, it provides them the correct answer. And so if you get it correct, you get a little boost. If you don't, you kind of spin out a little bit. and it gives you the correct answer. And you can sit there and have a learning moment with your students while they're having fun in this race. And then it gives them another one, hints or clues that will happen later in the plot. So maybe they answer correctly, maybe they don't answer correctly. But essentially, this is just one interactive game type that is readily made. So there's a lot of readily made resources on Lumio for you as well. Like that you don't have to reinvent. Because I know like us as teachers, we're busy. We have a lot on our plate already as it is. There's a lot of already ready-made resources for you. So I'm going to move on to one that you can do. Ooh, hopefully it lets you do this. Complete this activity on there. Yes, good. So you should be able to answer this now. This is a fill in the blank, and I like this activity a lot because it connects to our STAR Online, our new question types. Students are already getting exposed to these new question types on the STAR Online. So this is a good activity for students to practice using that drag and drop. It's giving them that exposure already to that new question type, that new item type that they're gonna see from here on out. So you should be able to do this activity.
Mr. Patterson, Missy Bada,
Yes.
she in the chat, she said Lumio was a great tool for her pre and small group one-to-one and intro to technology.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it was. It's a great tool to get students exposed to technology too, because it's interactive, it's engaging, and they're getting to use the touchscreen or the markers if like they're able to appropriately. So it's a great strategy. Thank you for sharing that.
It might just be me, but I can't get it to work.
It's not working for you?
No.
One second. I apologize about that.
Is it showing on your screen and it's not letting you click and drag?
Right, I'm not able to click and drag.
What kind of device are you on?
HP laptop.
So a laptop. Okay. I wonder if you refresh, it might have you put the class code in, and I wonder if that might allow you to do the activity.
Try refreshing the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I'll give that a try.
Okay.
So again, just to reiterate, this is a great activity to expose those students to that drag and drop, that new item type they are going to see on New Star from here on out. They're going to be exposed to it. So it's a great way to expose them to it and get them used to answering drag and drop questions as they did here. And then they can even check their answers and get that immediate feedback as well. So if I were to get an answer wrong, it will spit it back out at me. And it'll tell me what I got right, what I got wrong, and they can go back and they can check for, you can, as the educator, can go back and check for understanding with your students. And you can have students being doing this directly on your smartboard as well as on their own individual devices. So it can either be a great group activity or it can be an individual activity to help you check for understanding. Any questions before we move to the next game type? Okay, moving on. So this is a multiplication game show for our math teachers. It's your turn to spin. So you go ahead and spin the wheel. And then they have to answer 7 times 3. So again, multiple choice, giving them that exposure to multiplication and multiple choice. So again, a great tool for maybe like our lower grade levels, like getting introduced to just multiple choice in general. But again, it could be scaffold, or it could be elevated or vertically aligned to a higher content area as well. So they'd answer it, they'd get it correct. And again, you should be able to answer on your own as well. So again, a great individual or group activity as well. So you could have 2 students at the board actively competing, or you could have students individually competing on their own device.
You have Miss Sanchez in the chat saying she likes it.
She likes it? Awesome. Thank you, Miss Sanchez. So again, it's a fun way because, you know, like our students, they want to be competitive. Most of our students are competitive. They have that edge. They love playing games. Like, you know that they play every kind of game under the sun. So this is just one way to incorporate that game-based learning into your classroom. So it's a great tool. And again, these are ready-made for you. You can find these on Lumio, already ready to go if you use the search the library of Lumio. So we'll do one more and then I'll move us to our next game. So this one's ×2, so then the students get really competitive. It's a doubles. They get to spin again. Oh, now it's worth a lot. Now it's worth ×4. They get to spin again. So for 400 points, and they'd answer the question. That's correct. And you get the idea. Again, another one that they're gonna see, another item type they're gonna see is having to label. Again, so students are gonna have to label, so this would be kind of our upper level grades, labeling the hydrologic cycle or the water cycle for our lower grades. So again, they have all these different parts and students are able to label it. Just another one of Lumio's many tools. Like, again, the whole purpose of this is to introduce you, to expose you to all these different great game-based learning tools that Lumio provides, and the hopes that you'll be able to take something home with you today and integrate it into your lessons in the future.
Teachers are loving it. Miss Ivana said she loves that it gamifies the content. Her kids love playing games.
Thank you. And again, here's the teacher side of it. It shows you the activity and its completion. You can look at student progress. You can show students progress. Like, you get that data component, that instant feedback. You can model the activity for students. So this is another math game where they're making tens. So again, for our lower grades, where they take the 2 fishes and they would drag them in there to make 10. So students are getting to practice that fundamental counting of making tens. It aligns to our standards. And of course, if they get it wrong, you can make it a teaching moment. So you can tell them, well, why was 9 and 4? Why did that not make 10? And you have them talk about it. Maybe you bring out the other manipulatives like the counting pieces. And here, another great tool. So again, a tried and true method like a T-chart comparing fruits versus vegetables. So let's say we had 2 teams. So you would get to make a category with fruits, a category of vegetables. We could elevate this to a higher grade level. We could compare one character in a novel to another character, how they alike, how they're different. Their motivations, how they have different motivations, compare characters, or maybe connect it to science, like talk about the hydrologic cycle, talk about the lunar cycle. What do they have in common? What's different about each? Talk about the inner planets, the outer planets. How are they alike? How are they different? Talk about prime numbers. Talk about composite numbers. How are they alike? How are they different? Connect it across your curriculum. Whatever works for you, whatever's beneficial for you.
Mr. Patterson, you have 10 minutes.
Perfect. So again, just a great little tool for you here as an educator to get your student. Maybe this is a great way to get your students into writing. Like this could be how you set your students into a short constructed response or an extended constructed response. Use these as graphic organizers to get your students to generate ideas for their content, for their essays. This could be a great tool for those upper grade levels or for their lower grade levels as well. Again, however you see this integrated into your classroom, my purpose here is just to expose you to these tools and give you the hope, or my hope is that you'll take away something here and be able to integrate it somewhere in your lessons in the future. All right. And lastly, a 6-word summary. If you want to make a 6-word summary, I should be able to restart it. Give me 1 second. So this is just simply a 6-word summary about game-based learning. Like, what is game-based learning to you based off just what I've been able to expose you to in this short amount of time? Like a 6-word summary for game-based learning. What are your thoughts or maybe questions? What are you left wondering, or what did you enjoy about game-based learning? And again, from the teacher side, you can see your students, you can get that feedback. You can go and look at your students' answer and see how they're doing. Like I can go and see what Erica put with her 6 words, but she started it. I can see that she started it. But I can go and look in a moment and see like what someone's written about their summary so far. Like, what are your thoughts on game-based learning with Lumio?
So, Mr. Patterson, I think all the things that you're showing, you're right. This can be taken into any content, any grade level. When you were showing like the categorizing, like the T chart, that can be used in math with shapes, right? Like attributes. That can be used in pre-K with sounds, with blends, right? What starts with B, what starts with A, and they
Connected
can
to
be
your sound
sorting
wall,
pictures.
absolutely.
So I think it's great that you're showing teachers the idea and they get to take and run with it and make it what they want and personalize it to what they teach.
Absolutely.
So like, yes, Miss Ibarra, she put in the chat. I don't think she was able to join the um, Lumio session, but she put it's interactive and students take the wheel.
Good, perfect. Yes, it is student-centered learning. That is what I do enjoy so much about Lumio, is that it is student-centered learning. The students are commanding the lead here. You're more of a facilitator role. We'll give a couple people a second to finish their summary, and then I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. Thank you all, everyone. Y'all have been a great group. I appreciate all the participation and the great ideas, the feedback.
If anybody would like to come off mute and share, feel free to do so. I know that you are filling out on Lumio to practice this strategy, but if you would like to come off mute, feel free.
Loving the responses, guys. Thank you for those. Were great 6-word summaries. And think again for your kids that you have to pull teeth to get them to write. This would be a good engaging activity to get them to write just something, to provide some form of written expression, just kind of open the door, get their foot in the door to writing something, giving you some kind of input in written expression. A great little tool to get them writing and to kind of collect, like maybe an exit ticket. Maybe this is an exit ticket for you to check for understanding. Maybe this is just some way for you to see that your students are collecting information from your lesson. A brief, short, and sweet way. So most of us answered. We're going to go ahead and move on. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I do appreciate each and every one of you. There is your bit.ly link to get the credit for the activity, as well as the QR code if you want to go that route. I'm here if you have any questions. Once again, just thank you very much.
Yes, so I'm posting in the chat the link to Mr. Patterson's presentation, and I will also post the sign-in link in there if it's easier to click a direct link. Please make sure you fill that out, as that is how you will receive credit, whether you are in or out of district. I know we have had a incredible amount of attendees from all over Texas. So you will also be able to receive your credit for your district as long as you fill this out and complete it. We will have our coordinator fill out a certificate and send it over. So again, thank you, Mr. Patterson, for taking time out and presenting. It was amazing. I hope that you all take what he has shared and make it your own. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. You can reach out to me. I won't throw Mr. Patterson out there.
You're welcome to.
Mr. Patterson is in the district, so if you do work in the district, you can find Mr. Patterson. I have my email there. I am always happy to help, happy to connect you with your EdTech IS for your campus. So yes, does anybody, if you don't have any questions, you are free to log out. But if not, we'll stay around for another couple minutes. And thank you again for joining.
I don't see the session that we attended on the bit.ly. It only gives 3 options, not a 1 to.
Let me see.
It says 8:15 to 9, 11:15 to 12, and 3:15 to 4.
Oh, let me try.
I see the games and annotations on the drop down, but can I just choose whatever time?
Let me double check for that. There is just one sign-in sheet for the whole Ready Tech Go conference. So I would, if you click the session title first, do the times change?
No, it's a drop down. It stays the same.
Okay, I am.
It'll be on the drop down.
I'm logging in to it right now to see what you see.
I just clicked the lunch session and game-based learning and annotations, and it let me continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Alrighty. Well, that is the end of this session. So if there are no further questions, then you may go ahead and sign out. Mr. Patterson, you did a wonderful job. I think it's just me and you, and yes, good job. How do you feel?
It's just there's still. Oh, it's just us now.
It's just us.
Oh yeah, I feel good. I
think.
mean, it just was like really. Yeah, I see it. It was just quiet and awkward.
Yeah. It's hard, right? When it's virtual. That's what I find difficult when it's virtual is you almost feel like you're presenting, you're
Yeah,
like just recording something to be posted on
I
a
felt like I was talking to a
website.
wall.
I know, and it's hard for us because we try not to interrupt or kind of, overstep. But
It went well though, you think?
No, I think it went great. They were, putting in the chat. I didn't want to join actually, so where we're at, we're all at Rogers Middle School right now, and not just the whole power went out in the building.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, like, I don't have a hotspot, and so one of my colleagues, Juan, like, ran over here and was trying to get me on his hotspot. But for a good chunk of it, I was hosting on my phone.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm presenting right after you. So I'm like, oh my God, this cannot be more terrible. I said, this is the teacher that I'm supposed to be supporting for Ready, Set, Go. And, but no, it was great. It was great. They,
Perfect.
I saw a lot of them talking, shaking their heads like, oh yeah, and participating in the chat. So I think it went great. We will see the feedback. If you're ever interested in seeing it, I wouldn't see why Kelly. I mean,
Yeah.
I can always let you know whatever.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I'm more than willing to participate, like give more trainings in the future, like if y'all need someone.
Yeah, that would be fun. We always try to do some kind of collaboration, like with schools, it would be fun to do some kind of Lumio after school training where teachers lead it, So that would be fun if you led it and I could just, kind of support you like after school, and we invite some teachers from nearby campuses that could come over, like maybe like Sarah King, like Carvajal, maybe Collins Garden.
For sure.
But that would be a good idea. Maybe think about that for next year. Open up your resume a little bit.
Right.
Just keep building your portfolio for your
That's the plan. That'd be
But
great.
no,
Awesome.
I'm proud of you. I hope you have a good, you're for your summer school, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be at Collins Garden.
Oh, well, I have 2 hubs. So to support. So I'm supporting Jaffet, and I'm also supporting Collins Garden.
So
So
you'll be there in
I
the
split
summer?
my
Nice.
I will see you there. So don't be a stranger.
All right, yeah, you better come say hi.
I definitely will.
All right, thanks.
All right. Awesome. Have a good one.
You too. See you later.